Hello everyone. After World War II, the European colonial powers gradually relinquished their colonies in Africa due to international pressure and the struggles of the natives. However, France remained conservative and unwilling to let go of its sinful past as the African nations demanded independence. They carried out a series of measures to terrorize the psyche, including assassination missions targeting African leaders. Since the 1960s, France had assassinated 22 African presidents who had called for the struggle to be free. In addition, they also deployed troops across 14 colonies with around 6,000 soldiers to suppress independence movements. At the same time, they forced African countries to use a single currency called the CFA franc, of which France had full control over pricing in African banks. If they wanted to operate, they had to transfer 50% of their annual reserves to Paris before 2010, which was 85%. Therefore, if they did not comply, the price to pay was bloodshed and economic collapse. However, no colonialist can oppress a nation forever. Now, times have changed. Specifically, since 2017, Russia's Wagner Group has been present in Africa with around 5,000 troops. They came to help countries struggle against oppression and exploitation. That is the message they wanted to convey, and received widespread support. Of course, no one gives anything for free. Russia wants many things from Africa. They want to cooperate to exploit the extremely abundant natural resources here, such as oil, gold, diamonds, uranium. Currently, some Russian companies like Lobe Invest and Alrosa have acquired large shares of African mineral mines. Putin once said, "We come to Africa to cooperate, not to recolonize." However, in parallel, Russia wants to increase trade with the region to save the country from economic isolation. Africa is a potential market with 1.2 billion people and a GDP of over $3 trillion. If they can escape the fate of being colonies and receive proper investment, they will take off swiftly. Apart from economic aspects, Russia wants to follow the Soviet Union's footsteps to increase influence globally through aid efforts. Having more allies will help them consolidate strength and avoid isolation from the West. The goals are quite clear. So how has Russia gained a foothold in Africa while France is still there? Firstly, through Wagner, they have launched very successful propaganda campaigns. Basically, they portrayed the image of Soviet soldiers as a liberation army coming to urge Africans to stand up and fight. Parallel to that was the spread of horrific images and descriptions of the exploitative nature of the French. One side comes to help, the other comes to oppress without needing distorted information. This is enough for the natives to wake up. Secondly, France's brutal rule plunged Africa into poverty and desperation, while puppet governments did not care about people's lives, only enjoying privileges. As a result, many disgruntled youths became extremists, robbing, killing, and madly resisting France. This happened commonly in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. Capitalizing on the chaos since 2017, Wagner jumped in under the guise of helping people fight terrorism and quickly gained support. The French reacted weakly simply because they have continuously failed against independence movements. Thirdly, wherever Wagner sets foot, they quickly associate with patriotic organizations ready to fight to overthrow pro-French puppet governments. They provide both soldier training and sell weapons for profit. Within just a few years, many African armies have gained enough strength to stage coups, including in Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and the Central African Republic. After each successful coup, Russia's influence grew further, and their flags flew over the streets. The trust of the new African governments exceeded expectations. To further boost morale, President Putin recently announced debt relief of $23 billion for African countries. At the same time, he provided free food aid of 25,000 to 50,000 tons of grain each to 6 countries facing difficulties. Along with that is the plan to double trade with Africa from $20 billion to $40 billion. These have created a motivational force for the spirits of the downtrodden people. They are rising up to fight. Up to now, France has failed miserably. They were forced to withdraw thousands of troops from 6 out of the 14 African countries. Along with that is a lot of money being blown away. For example, 20% of France's uranium supply, 24% of the EU's, was exploited in Niger by multinational companies. After the recent coup, everything stopped. Uranium is the material used for France and the EU's nuclear power plants, which generate 68% and 25% of annual electricity respectively. If replacement sources are not found in time, they will face an energy crisis. Apart from that, countless other resources like oil, gold, diamonds and gemstones will follow suit in returning to their African owners. It is expected that in the coming days, France will continue withdrawing from Senegal and Ghana. All remaining areas are also unstable. Waves of protests calling for France to leave Africa are flooding the streets. According to international analysts, this situation is very likely to create a domino effect across the continent. It is quite similar to the Arab Spring that the West had created in 2011. Now may be the best time for Africans to liberate themselves now or forever endure their fate.